Hello and welcome to my talk. My name is Daniel Pett and I'm meant to be in Nebraska with you, but unfortunately due to the financial climate in England I can't actually afford to come. Now I'm going to talk to you about the Portland Antiquities scheme and the digital work that I do as my work at the British Museum. Like Ethan, I'm going to present in full digital humanities casual. I'm in shorts and flip-flops. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what I do as a job. Now, in 1997, the Portland Antiquities scheme started in Britain. It had 6 pilot centres for recording, and then in 2003 it went national. It doesn't include Scotland, because Scotland has a different law regarding the ownership of artefacts. All the objects are recorded on the Portland Antiquities scheme website that I build, which is at finds.org.uk, and all URLs that I mention in this talk can be found in a bit.ly bundle at the end of this paper. In 2011, this website won the Best of Web Award, which is now held by the Cooper Hewitt Design Museum and previously by the Metropolitan Museum of Art and the Victoria and Albert Museum from London. We hold records for over 885,000 objects, and we have 22,560 contributors at the present time. And on this next slide, I'll show a picture of people searching for antiquities at a metal detecting rally. Now, this is perfectly legal in the United Kingdom. There's nothing to stop them going out and finding these objects. But what is vital is that we record the information that they discover. And the scheme has 5 aims. We promote the maximum public interest and benefit from recording of these objects, and allow the researchers to actually use this information for better use. Our second aim promotes best practice by finders, landowners and archaeologists and museums in the discovery and recording and conservation of finds made by the public. Thirdly, in partnership with museums and others, we raise awareness among the public, including young people, of the educational value of recording archaeological finds in their content and facilitate research into them. Fourthly, we create partnerships between finders, museums, archaeologists to increase participation in archaeology and advance our understanding of the past. Fifthly, we support the Treasure Act and increase opportunities for museums to acquire archaeological finds for public benefit. Aren't artefacts without context pointless? Well, yes, you could say that. But if we don't record this information, we have lost our one chance to actually record that data. But where do we put this data to use? Well, many different places. Europeana, Pelagios, Oxford University Celtic Coin Index and the Culture Grid. We align our data to the Ancient World Data Bank from Humanities. We link to common identifiers. All of these places are talked about with the same common identifier, one authoritative source. To do this is very simple and has allowed us to actually link our data to multiple data sets around the world. The Portland Antiquities scheme database pushes data out in multiple formats. We use QR codes, we produce data in NUDS, Numismatic Description Standard, which is XML, in JSON, in RDF. And we serve lots of different structured data. Now this slide shows an example of numisma in use, and in particular a Roman Empire. Linked data is quite a nascent field in the museums and libraries and archives sector. Not many people are actually doing it very well. The British Museum has got a very good project called Research Space, but it hasn't really taken off as yet. On this slide, I show an example of my RDF with the CDOC CRM implemented as well as I've actually managed to achieve. It shows a graph of numisma's ID for Rome, and 2 nodes on the outliers show finds.org.data and numisma's data. We link our data to the British Museum, DBpedia, GeoNames, the Ordnance Survey, and by doing this we can enrich our database by lots of different means. I use Sparkle to query DBpedia to pull more information in to enrich website pages. In particular, Roman coin guides use DBpedia to produce. The Roman coin guides web pages use DBpedia extensively to enrich the pages. For example, on this slide I show Hadrian and Sol Invictus personified on coins. Now for this I wanted to get abstracts and pictures from Wikipedia without actually having to reproduce this data by myself. To do this I use a Sparkle query which pulls this data back into a JSON format, and I can then use that data to actually put onto our web pages. At Lordy last year, a script was developed with JavaScript which makes use of various different resources. So on this page I show that we used the AWLD magic script to enrich the pages with the popover. If you roll your mouse over the link for Wikipedia page, it brings up the image, picture and the abstract. And on this page you can also see that I've pulled latest examples out of our database using solar facets. But what else can you do with databases? Well, I wanted to use APIs from around the world to actually enrich our database further. So I'm going to give you a few examples of what I do. Now on this page I showed the API use from They Work For You. This is a website that queries Hansard. Hansard is a big directory of parliamentary records, what people have been saying in Parliament on a daily basis. From this, I can pull out any mentions of the Port Antiquities scheme or the British Museum. So, for example, on this page, I show a question was asked by Baroness Jane Bonham Carter. She asked whether the Minister could confirm that funding was directly going to the British Museum to run the Port and whether it would be ring-fenced. A second example shows that I can use the Flickr API for the redisplay of images. I wanted to pull out artefacts from Flickr that we'd actually put onto Flickr and reuse them in our web pages without actually having to host them there, thus cutting down on hosting card charges. So this example shows two artefacts coming back from the Silverdale Hoard. And on this slide, I show the use of Google Maps to enrich data on our website. I show that I can manage to create KML parish boundaries, multiple layers using the Imperium web layer from Pelagios, an OpenStreetMap. At the bottom of the page, you can also see that I've enriched data using the Doomsday Book API, an Open Doomsday project. This pulls back near places within 2 kilometres of the find spot. Now, I must say that this map isn't available to all users. We hide some of the data from the public because of the sensitivity of find spots. But what other things have we actually been doing as well? Well, we've been using lots of new technology to actually research objects and finds. This slide shows computed tomography of the Selby coin hoard done by Southampton University. We couldn't actually take this coin hoard to pieces, so we scanned it and we can actually see what the coins are within the hoard. We're also approaching Wikipedians directly. We're giving them information and asking them to write articles about the magnificent discoveries we have in this country. So this page, for example, gives an example of the Froome hoard. I sent this information to the person who wrote the page well in advance, and they used all our images as they come under a Creative Commons license, which meant they could upload our images and use them freely, just by attribution. And on this slide I show the infamous Crosby Garrett helmet that was found a couple of years ago in England. Now this is valued at £300,000 by Christie's, and it came in pieces. It was then put back together by a restorer, and it sold at auction for a huge amount of money. Now, there were no images in the public domain of this object, so I took some at the auction house, and I tweeted the fact that people could actually use these images. And this was noted in the talk for the Crosby Garrett helmet webpage. So if you go on to the talk page, you can actually see that I said images could be used directly. Now, earlier in this paper I referred to the fact that all of the code that I wrote for this website is under open source license. You can download any of the code for the Port Antiquities Scheme website from GitHub. You can reuse it for your own use, and please do. And here's my son Max. He's just going to tell you that this is the end of the paper. Max, what do you say? Max is a bit shy, doesn't really want to say anything. Hopefully I've kept the time, because I've been timing myself with a big timer here. Thank you very much.